us, and the importance that is the skeleton. And see after the pandemic, face new normal. We all if we want sustainability, and that might include your food, your poverty, your hunger, your climate, everything, that needs our youth to be holistic. We must understand the meaning of wellness. We must understand in order to fulfill your dreams to be well. I want to say with a lot of pride, I want to say that the NHS talks a lot about meditation and yoga now, which means that we all know that Western medicine is nowhere being replaced, and it finds hope in alternative means, which is dhyan, which is meditation, which is yoga, as written in the ancient scriptures. I take pride in the fact that I belong to this amazing, wonderful land where our spiritual culture talks of holistic wellness. I have healed thousands of people out of their mental disorders. You can have a look at my TED talk where I've spoken of how physiology and psychology are related and how one can get rid of their chronic illnesses only by practicing a few techniques that are mentioned in our ancient scriptures. My only urge today, and I have just 5 minutes, so I'm not going to take long, but I do know that whatever we want to pursue as leaders, it only makes sense if we are physically, mentally, and emotionally stable. So the COVID era has taught us that people failed mentally. Fear became a more spreading pandemic than COVID. We all were so fearful, so uncertain, losing jobs, salaries being slashed. We don't know if there's ever going to be the normal, whether life is going to be normal. Is this mask always going to be there? We still saw some cases coming into Delhi yesterday. So there's always going to be this sense of fear for the next couple of years. So does it mean that we are not going to fulfill our dreams? Does it mean that we are not going to do what we have to do? Absolutely not. But it now means that we have to look at health as holistic. We have to focus more on our mental and our emotional wellness as much as we want to focus on our diets and our gyms and our physical capacity. So that's about it from my side. I wish the event all the very best. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for emphasizing the importance of wellness as well as the importance of the youth in achieving these SDG goals that we have. I would like to take the session forward and also invite our next two speakers. The first session of the Youth for SDG Policy Dialogue is being held on the pertinent topic of India-Denmark Green Strategic Partnership, which was launched in September 2020. The partnership is mutually beneficial agreement to advance political cooperation, expand economic relations, and promote green growth. The focus sectors identified for this partnership include water, urban development, renewable energy, and intellectual property. This particular partnership will not only create green and sustainable future in both these nations, but will also boost job creation, innovation, and investments which are guided to address global challenges today. To address this partnership in greater detail, we have with us His Excellency Ambassador Freddy Svane, Ambassador of Denmark to India, in conversation with Ms. Smita Sharma, contributing editor of India Head News. I request His Excellency Ambassador Svane and Ms. Smita Sharma to join us for this.
Thank you. I think you have to be a little more energetic. Yeah. You're young and you're the future. So.
And the applause is not to be taxed. So it's tax free. Just a quick request and reminder, please all of you, if you could put your phones on silent because this is going to be recorded for our channel purposes and we will be broadcasting this on India Ahead this week. Also, just a reminder to the students, when you have a question, raise your hand but wait for the camera to focus on you before you ask your question, and my colleague Randhawa will be on the floor to try and help you get a mic to be able to ask your question. You guys audio here? Tell me when we are ready. Ambassador, can I just do an audio check, please?
My name is Freddy. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Absolutely ready to go. Is it clear? Both the cameras? Hello and a warm welcome to all of you here at this very special conversation, which of course has been organized by the Denmark Embassy in India, Raisina House, supported by Tatsat Chronicle, and welcome to all the viewers of India Ahead who are streaming into this conversation. I'm Smita Sharma, the Ambassador of Denmark, is here with me in this conversation as we discuss issues related to environment, to earth, to climate change. Ambassador, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm extremely proud and pleased really to have this occasion to address all of you, because you are the future and you have really to change the direction that we unfortunately in our part of the world set up for many, many years.
I know the focus is going to be a lot on green, the green strategic partnership on the board behind, the green tie that you are donning today. But unfortunately, the view from the window as I see it, it's all grey. How are you dealing and coping with the air pollution here in Delhi to begin with?
In fact, I'm trying to get out of Delhi, the sooner the better. No, that was just a joke. I think we all have a responsibility, and I was born, I call it in the age of plastic fantastic, but I have no taste for waste. In a bigger picture, we are all responsible. We all have cars. If we don't have cars, we have many other things that are polluting. And my firm belief is that you can't ask governments and politicians to do X, Y, Z of things. The main culprit, we are all culprit. I'm really guilty, you're guilty, you're all guilty. So what does that mean? It means that we have to change things. And of course, looking out, the pollution is high and it's life shortening. So we have to do something. That's why we incepted this, what we call the Green Strategic Partnership.
Right. Just to question more before I enlarge the scope of the conversation, and especially dealing because the air toxicity is something which is a constant subject of conversation in our higher courts at the government levels to the level of citizens. But what is it that the embassy here is doing in terms of trying to cope with the pollution in particular? Any suggestions or any points that come to your mind, really?
Of course, we try to bring in our technologies, and of course, this is not a nice view. I lived in Paris for many years, back in the late 80s and beginning of the 90s and throughout the 90s. And I will still recall when I came to Paris first time, it was like being here. I've also lived in Japan, exactly the same thing. They change things. You can change things. So what we are doing is trying to bring in our technologies, our knowledge, our skills, as your Prime Minister has put it. And of course, we are trying in data really to change our nice speeches, participate in things like that. We also have to walk the talk, but drive the green talk. And one thing which I've committed on myself to is to change my diesel-driven, huge German car and get an e-vehicle. That will be the best thing.
Surely, even that's of course what we are hoping that inspiring that India and its cities can move forward to. But we are also still amid a pandemic. While we are seeing vaccination rates take place, countries are unlocking. India is all set to welcome international global travelers as well. During the entire phase of lockdown, there was a lot of conversation around see how the earth is healing, the blue skies, the greenery around. Are people still carrying forward that conversation, or do you think that that's already a part of a forgotten memory now?
Unfortunately, we are human beings, and we have a short memory. And we have all lost friends and family members across the world. We have seen a lot of these fatalities and sacrifices everywhere. We heard about now we can see the mountains that our earlier generations spoke about and so forth. And has that changed our behavior? No, in no way. And why is that? Because we don't take individual responsibility. You and I, we think that is the role of others, or that's why we have democracy, so we ask somebody to represent us and to make decisions. But that's not how it works. We have to take individual responsibility. I have 4 kids, and we became famous wherever we lived, because I told my kids, switch off the light every day, every morning, every night. And we had put up a goal that our consumption of energy and water and whatever should be reduced with 10% as a family year by year. So when we looked into it, we were really a record-setting family in Denmark. And I tell you, my kids, now grown-ups and married and so forth, having children on their own, they have brought the same habit. So it's about changing your behavior. If you don't change the direction, you're ending up, unfortunately, where we ended up. Not as a family, but as a planet. See that? That is going to destroy our planet and our future.
And I think that's a very important, because it's not just charity, it is conscience, behavior, it's leadership, everything that begins at home from the individual level. Ambassador, now coming, of course, to the strategic partnership, because it's the first of its kind. Viewers, tell our audience here today a little bit more about what to expect, what are the main primary goals that you're seeking to achieve through this partnership in India?
I think I'll go a little bit back and try to explain how we came about the idea of really developing this green strategic partnership. It was based on the kind of approach that India, as a huge country, in fact, just in a parenthesis, when I left India the first time, I was asked to come in September, August 2010. India was a country to us. Then we came to God and whatever, and cars and dogs and two-wheelers and of course, very, very bad air quality. Then later on, after having witnessed the Republic Day parades, it became a nation. And when I left, I said, India is a living civilization. So in that context, India is huge. So we decided that you are 1.3, 1.4 billion people. Even a small drop in India will have a huge impact on the world. So based on all the missions that your Honorable Prime Minister and the government of India have launched over time, I myself participated in the first Independence Day speech of your Honorable Prime Minister. Sitting on the ramparts of the Red Fort, I sensed the vibrations, because this Prime Minister suddenly took up topics, issues that nobody wanted to hear about, because that was something that others took care of. Launching Swachh Bharat and all that. So that was a game changer. So I decided, really, and I did it, that we had to launch a green strategic partnership which combines the India, whether it's called different Swasvarat or the new green hydrogen mission and so forth, and we should bring in our skills. Skills in that means our technologies, our solutions, and so forth. So that's why we have the Green Strategic Partnership. And we are not telling India, we are not preaching to India, you have to do X, Y, Z. We are dialogue seeking. So we say, this is our catalog. We are happy, we are ready to support you and help you wherever you like it. That's the core of this Green Strategic Partnership. It has 4 major tracks: energy, everything related to energy, from offshore wind to smart energy grids and all that. Water, upstream, down. Financing, we just had the COP26. Did you get the money that the Western rich countries committed back in 2009 at the COP15, which really was held in Copenhagen? Did we deliver on that? No, we are not going to deliver. And then the 4th one is, of course, climate change. So we believe in a dialogue, but we also need to make it in such a way that we connect with the reality on ground in India. And that's why India, as Prime Minister Modi has said, India has the scale. Denmark has the skills. We also add, India has a lot of skills, so don't forget that. We need to bring in speed, because day by day, then the scope of what we are doing, because we are the first movers on the Green Strategic Partnership, that agenda. So the scope of that goes well beyond Indo-Danish relations. And then when our Prime Minister was here recently, Prime Minister Modi added a new S, which is significant for what we are doing: sustainability. We can have scale, put speed into the picture. You have this. So it's not increasing, developing. So and whether it's water, energy, or something else, it's fine. But first, it's what else? Usually is it's that's what John.
And I'll come back to you on the conversation. I mean, there's so much that is said about it. Denmark, that like this idea, my scale, as you
But we are India. We are very water. The issue of water in Denmark over the last since 1980 has been half per capita. So it means, and in Denmark, sorry, all the drinking water comes from underground. So we are not doing desalination or things like that. So we need to protect our water resources, but to bring the consumption per capita, per person, per individual down with almost 50% takes a huge effort. You need incentives, also a bit of money to change the behavior of people. The what we call non-revenue water, which is a huge issue, not only in India, but also in India. I don't think you find any place in India where the non-revenue water, meaning water being pumped into the distribution system, that is leaking and coming nowhere. In India, it's well beyond 50%, I tell you, and many places higher. In Denmark, it's 4 or 5%. 4 or 5%. It takes a lot of investments, but also about the behavioral attitude. So that's it.
Are there any questions that somebody would like to ask?
Yes.
Please.
We need youngsters, please.
If you could just.
Okay. From my reading on data on it, right? It comes to collaboration. I did a little bit of reading and I came across this part where are interested in tackling this stubble burning menace in Delhi as well. India is and we have a huge rural population in Haryana and Punjab. Okay, and the problem is that the mere ordinance by government or dictator is not to make them stubble burning. How are we this? Down side all stuff. We can do and the song what can come food you need your farm sector. And in that context, you need to tell your farmers that they can't continue this year. There are technology. There are technology export. So what data that
What's your impact?
and they have done that, and they have been living in China and Europe and many other places. They have learned to take responsibility, and I believe that the change will not go by me, perhaps my British High Commissioner, he's still bringing some hope to us, but Leave that aside. Um, I can't do even in India.
While the youth are encouraged to take up responsibility, on the other hand, also had this year of young climate activists
Being human beings, generation of what we have done, what we live with. During the days of the second COVID, I say ego.
young activists who like from so my question comes to the front.
A warm greetings to His Excellency. I am Ashraf Nihal, a recent graduate of University of Delhi. So sir, I observed that you had a lot of praise for our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. And my question is based on one of his missions and ambition. As we know that India is a leader in terms of an area of renewables. And just recently our Prime Minister has pledged massive actions on green fuels such as green hydrogen. So how can we see a partnership being forged in between the two countries for renewable energy source and global endurance?
Thank you very much. A very interesting question. I support all those who are going to change the world and change your daily life to the better. Because India is not one-to-one, so what happens here, whether it's BJP or Congress or Mamata Banerjee or Stalin in Tamil Nadu, doesn't really affect me that much. What I'm interested in is seeing reliable progress that will improve the quality of life. When it comes to your question about very when whether in India or in Denmark or wherever it could be, that are ready to take actions to commit themselves. And I think he did that. Renewables is really, and if you talk about renewable energy, wind and solar and so forth, it's a core discipline in Denmark. More than 50% of all electricity consumed is coming coming from wind alone in Denmark. And then there are tons of people also here in India saying that's not possible. The wind patterns in India are different, and we have all kinds of issues. I think it's rubbish. You have opportunities. We have mapped your wind patterns, and I tell you, this is going to be a game changer for India, provided that India will get rid of the red tape, bureaucracy, and all this which is hampering the progress of India. So we are ready. That's why we, let's say, conceive this Green Strategic Partnership, because it brings our skills to India. You should buy our China. I don't care. They can come wherever. But we would like to support India in introducing a far better, more reliable, and more future-oriented energy mix, and renewable energy is part of that.
Before I come to a general view, if I can help sort out the mind, but just a quick question also on the alliance of governments, which you've announced recently, first of its kind, in terms of phasing out the production of oil and gas limited. They have Costa Rica, oil and gas alliance, 6 full members. Explain how you really.
So the youngers were crisis back in the early 1970s, and in our country, we were fully on the fossil fuel. The $1 industry. So it can be done. So the government, present government, decided that with full support of the parliament that Denmark should have our oil and gas and fossil fuel dependence. So then it was announced, and it's also based on a law adopted by our parliament, that we are no longer going to explore for oil and gas in the North Sea. It's a huge statement. Some will say, yeah, but it's coming. You have already emptied all the oil wells, and so this might be so. But we also need to take the initiatives. And this over beyond oil and gas line, trying to bring in the Indian side, and I thought we were successful. But we tried to really to inspire them, showing what kind of technologies we have developed in order to reduce our dependence on that. I'm pretty sure.
It's with the UK too. Is that disappointing?
No, I'm not representing UK, so it's for the British Commission of Transport. But I don't think we should be in a kind of a blame game, or we did not succeed with that, we didn't reach X, Y, Z of agreements. If you look, see, from my point of view, towards the result of Glasgow, I think a lot of things were achieved. It might not be what we wanted, but if we had no statement, if we had a huge kind of disruptive outcome, that would be bad for this one. So some would like to pray execute our behaviors, and it's not about changing the government's behavior and positions. It comes down to you, me, and all of us. So this is a movement, as I said, it's not a politics. So we have to work, and hopefully one day India will also start using coal. But the big issue is that it does not have per se a national strategy to phase out coal. Should we blame him? I don't care for that. I think it was to develop such a strategy. India, I said, that's why our strategic partnership, as I said initially, is based on how. That's the way forward.
I think we have time just for last two questions. First up, the gentleman here. If you could just quickly introduce yourself and the questions.
Thank you much. I'm a general graduate and the Director General Amity Institute of Defense Strategy Study. I've got a question. You're in America, outlook is just Prime Minister. We have this good campaign which has been unleashed as far as cleanliness is concerned. Now, each one of us have the military that is good. We move rather that we have been able to like things like this. Any or
The other day, I launched a number of reports with the Secretary of the Ministry of Urban Housing and so forth, and that's based on that we were called that. Also functional. It's about surprise. I come from a country which is extremely fast, so we like bicycling. So we have also introduced that in Goa, and it seems that it's fantastic. We have also been part of the river rejuvenation and running through penalty. The whole idea is to develop tools that can be applied by the different cities, smart villages. But it's fantastic. When I was about it, I heard about the smart city. Good. I see more around India. That can be a pitch to all of you. Please, you can't ask your parents, you can't ask your president, you can't ask achievements to change your life. You can have a hope that they will you and you have a powerful instrument through the democratic process, but by the end of the day, only you can change your life. And you
To appear